Hello there, my friend. I don't know about you, but there are some days and some weeks when I look ahead and I think about all that I need to get done and all that's on my plate and all that I want to do and how little time I think I have to get all those things done. My mind just starts racing. I'm running ahead a mile a minute. Can you relate? Today was one of those days. I have a practice every morning of really just a centering prayer, kind of like a meditation of just being still and quiet. And it's one of my most important practices. And usually it's one of my most peaceful practices, but not this morning. Not this morning. Oh my gosh. I had what I call the itches, bitches, and twitches. My mind was racing. It was like, I got to do this and I got to do this. And then I had this idea and oh, I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. And I'd take a breath and I'd try to just breathe and relax my body and I'd get it for a moment and then blah, 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 again. And that experience reminded me of one of my favorite memories of one of my nephews, David. And the valuable lesson it taught me and continues to teach me. It's what I want to share with you today as I am practicing that lesson myself today. So, this happened when David was, I'm guessing, maybe 12, 13 months old, at that age where he was learning how to walk. Now, you have to get, David was this blonde hair, blue eyed like tub. I mean, he was just a butterball baby and the big smile all the time. And he was learning how to walk. And, when kids learn how to walk, they don't start out heel toe. It's more like tippy toe, tippy toe, tippy toe. So I'd be at David's house and I'd watch him. He'd pull himself up in their living room, pull himself up to a standing position using the card table or the couch. And then he'd see this open space of the room and he'd start to launch himself to whoever was over on the other side of the room. So he'd have this big grin and he'd start walking across the open space of the room, tippy toe, tippy toe, tippy toe. And when you're walking tippy toe, tippy toe, tippy toe, it's really easy to start to have your head get just a little bit ahead of your feet. And you can always tell the moment when David realized something was off. Didn't know what, but he realized something was off. Like in instinct said, ooh, I'm going to fall, or something's out of alignment. I'm out of balance. And so with his head leaning just this much further, let me get my face out of the way, his head leaning in front of his feet as he's walking, feeling instinctively, this is not a safe position. Something's off here. He would start moving his feet faster and faster and faster, faster and faster, faster. And inevitably, he fell. Sometimes hitting the wall. Sometimes the wall won. Sometimes Dave won and the wall was more damaged than David. What David didn't know is that at that moment when his head was out in front of his feet and he sensed something's off, out of balance, something's off here, if he had just stopped moving, just even for a moment, just stopped, he could have brought himself back into alignment, upright, and then continued walking across the floor safely. No damage to him or the wall. That's the image. That's the story that came back to me this morning when my mind was racing way ahead of today, of that moment, of me, faster than it has in a long time. And so I know that throughout the day today, given that I started out that way, I need to make sure I'm stopping, even if it's just for a few minutes, regularly throughout the day, to bring myself centered again, to bring my awareness from up here down to here and even lower down to here. And yes, if you're like me, your mind might scream, but I don't have time. I got to keep doing this stuff. In which case, I invite you to remember my nephew David. Because trust me, I know this from experience, which is why I wanted to share it with you. If you do that, if you take even just a few minute breaks on those days when your mind is racing a mile a minute, and take some long, slow, deep breaths, or just sit and do nothing and breathe. Or pour yourself a cup of tea and sit and sip it slowly. When you do a whole heck of a lot of nothing for just a couple of minutes throughout your day, bringing yourself back to this present moment and what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, listening to your guides, listening to your intuition, listening to your God, remembering, as my new definition of abundance says, we are part of something bigger than us and our individual efforts and lives. And that something bigger is loving and creative and powerful and resourceful, much more so than we. And in that connection, in that something bigger, we have access to all that we need. Not for forever, but for this moment. We have the time we need, we have the energy we need, we have the clarity we need, we have the creativity we need, we have the energy we need, we have the oxygen we need. Those minute or two stoppings throughout your day to remember this truth and to remember my nephew David and what he didn't know at the time, I think you'll experience a world of difference in your day, in you, and probably in what you get done. Let me know what you experience if you try this, because I know for me, it's one of my most important practices, and one that today I'm going to be practicing a lot. Hope you have a great day.